welcome again to another episode of SLMA Radio, the longest-running B2B weekly live radio show and podcast, all on the subject of sales lead management, sales lead marketing, sales overall. If it has to do with sales lead management, it probably starts here with the SLMA Radio Show. Today we have a special program entitled Choose Your Own Way, Why End-of-Life Conversations Make Life Easier. With our host, Ellen Rudy, and her guest, Larry Wildemuth. Hey guys.
Thank you so much, Paul. Hi, I'm Ellen Rudy of NPIQ, Nonprofit Intelligence Quotient. We help nonprofit organizations understand their audience and their brand and communicate their impact. One of our clients is the Coda Alliance of San Jose, California, who specializes in end-of-life conversations. Today, we'll be talking about why end-of-life conversations make life itself easier for you, your family, and your medical team. With me is Larry Wildemuth, minister and former chaplain of the Clara Valley Medical Center, San Jose, California. Larry also chairs the Coda Alliance Board of Directors. Coda Alliance is a nonprofit dedicated to enabling easier and earlier end-of-life conversations. They have been in existence for 19 years, working with multiple countries, helping them encourage end-of-life planning with the help of Coda's pioneering Go Wish card game. Welcome, Larry. Can you tell us what makes end-of-life conversations so important for people, their families, and their medical team? What happens if a terminally ill patient doesn't have the conversation?
Well, thank you, Ellen, for inviting me to share on this important issue. I like to help people understand the options that they have at the end of their life. I want to provide a way for them to communicate those wishes to their loved ones. It's interesting, Ellen, I ask people to close their eyes and to imagine the place where they would be dying, and no one ever envisions them lying on an ICU bed, connected to IV tubes and pumps and machines all around them. Studies have shown that 80% of Americans would prefer to die at home if possible. 60% of Americans die in acute hospitals, 20% die in nursing home, and only 20% are able to die at home. And then, unfortunately, I see people not able to speak for themselves, and their loved ones don't know what they want done or not done. And worse yet, there is sometimes even disagreement among families about what their loved ones would have wanted.
Oh, but Larry, this is possibly the hardest conversation most people will ever have. How do you get them to come together with the patient, especially to understand and honor the patient's wishes?
Well, Ellen, when I first meet a patient, I always like to ask them something about themselves, either where they grew up or something about their family. And then I ask them to share with me what they understand and what the doctors are saying about their current medical condition. And then it's so important to listen and understand what people are saying. If they understand that their condition means that they will be dying, I ask them to help me to understand what's important to them at this point. If they don't know, I have the opportunity to introduce them to the Go Wish card game, which prompts people to select the things that they care most about. Recently, I was with a 60-something-year-old dad who wasn't sure what he wanted, and yet after only 5 minutes with the cards, he said, I think I found the important cards, and his top card was one that many people pick, and it was entitled, To Maintain My Dignity. And then I asked him, could you help me to understand what that means to you? Because it was so surprising, and what was important to him was for him to be clean and ready for each visit of their family and friends. You see, my answer to what that means is very different from his. And then I ask, who else needs to know what's important to you? And say, what about your family? I gave him an assignment to share these important cards with them. And we set up a time that I would come back and check and see how it went, and how they heard it.
That sounds like you've given him some helpful direction for himself, Larry, and gotten him started, but it's still really hard. How does it go when a patient has to communicate their wishes to their family? Are you able to meet with the families as well?
Ellen, so often in these cases, the patient is so close to death or being discharged to another care facility, like hospice or nursing home. So sometimes we don't have the continuity of care that lets us take the conversation to the family level with the patient. And then in addition, unfortunately, oftentimes families are reluctant to talk about it, or they're in denial, hoping that one last procedure will save their loved ones. And then often they'll even shut down the conversation the patient is trying to have with them. I was recently in a situation with a patient that was very near death, and the family that surrounded him seemed to be in denial. And they were saying things like, "Fred, come on, breathe." And someone else said, "Come on, here, have a drink of water." But people don't understand that when the body is shutting down, the patient is not thirsty or even hungry, and that it can make things worse. And all of this affects the patient's final quality of life. Many times patients feel compelled to do what the doctors offer, rather than asking a question like, how is that going to affect my treatment or my recovery? How will it affect my life? People change their mind as their health declines.
Whoa, I mean, really given us some very good reasons to have that conversation. I feel as though I hear more about end-of-life decisions these days. Have end-of-life conversations become more accepted, more mainstream over the last 10 years?
Ellen, the acceptance of end-of-life conversations is still very difficult. They're difficult for families, but I also find them being difficult for many medical staff. We're seeing progress in the medical field with the addition of palliative care becoming part of the medical team. Palliative care is a team that comes alongside your doctor to help patients to understand the different treatments available so that they can determine if they wish to sign up for the treatment or not. It's all about how you want to enjoy the time you have left while managing your symptoms and your life. We're also seeing more people take time to fill out a power of attorney for healthcare, sometimes called advance directive, because one of the things in this document that you select is someone who will speak for you if there comes a time when you cannot speak for yourself. But make sure you check on these forms in your particular state or in your province, because they do vary. Changes to end of life are going to come as individuals get the knowledge and help to understand that they have choices at the end of life. We like to use the example of childbirth. Childbirth didn't change because doctors invited dads into the delivery room. It was the grassroots movement that changed how we do childbirth. And in the same way, we're going to change end-of-life treatment. We want to empower people to ask good questions of doctors. We want people to understand not receiving some treatments might give them better quality of life because it's their decision. Coda has made some big strides in educating the public, the clergy, and physicians, all who receive little to no training for helping people to understand the dying process. Coda has realized also that there are others doing great work, and we have on our website a resource matrix that talks all about these other tools and these other helps that are available for end-of-life care. So I would encourage you to go to CodaAlliance.org and look at these other tools and explore them, or even go online and play our Go Wish cards so that they might be able to help you to ask better questions at the end of life, or help a family or help a friend or a loved one as you begin down that journey.
Thank you so much, Larry. No matter how difficult a conversation, looks like you can be solving medical treatment issues and bring peace of mind to the patients and their families. For those of you who are listening today, please, as Larry mentioned, please find more information on the Go Wish cards and the End of Life Resource Matrix at www.CodaAlliance.org, where their motto for you is take responsibility, choose your own way, and embrace life. And thank you to Funnel Media for the opportunity to talk about this very important topic.
We know you rely on your CRM system, and it's usually a love-hate relationship. Most CRM systems, well, let's face it, they're expensive. They're hard to understand. People don't use them properly. And you're probably paying for features that you don't even want. If that's your case, then maybe it's time to simplify. It's time to get more from your CRM. Why don't you go back to the original? Trust Goldmine. We helped pioneer the industry, after all. Goldmine CRM is, well, it's simple, it's affordable, and it's proven. If all those sound appealing to you, if you're just tired of the CRM headaches that you're getting from trying to implement something that's just too complicated, too expensive, and too much for you to figure out, then why not go back to the original? Visit Goldmine today, goldmine.com.